I'm your host, John Tarach, sitting in for Kenneth Lukwago. And on Spectrum today, this evening, we are going to be discussing transparency and accountability in Parliament. And quite intense scrutiny it has come under the last, I would call it, couple of months, especially this year. The scrutiny has been quite something. And you can always listen in to Radio 1 FM 90 Spectrum, not just Spectrum, but generally Radio 1 FM 90 through various ways. Yes, through your radio, FM 90, but you can also go online off our website, radio1fm90.com. Okay? Look for the Listen Live link, click on it, and you can listen away regardless of where you are on the planet. And you can also use TuneIn, the TuneIn app, the Afro Mobile app, your TV channels app, the Radio Garden app. Yeah, and listen into Radio 1 FM 90. Now, if you do miss out on an episode, you could say, of Spectrum, of Talkback, or Hishi, or Locker Room, or HealthNet, you can always listen in afterwards. There's got to be a podcast that's uploaded for you to listen in to, and so you won't miss a thing, especially if you're in a different time zone, but you still want to catch up with the conversations that are happening on the ground, so to speak. So look out for afripods.africa. Okay, that's the website. When you go there, you can search for Radio 1. And when you do that, you should see our logo with the different shows and episodes popping up. You click on the show, and the episodes of that show will pop up, the most recent ones, going back to all the recordings. That's one of the ways. The other way is to download the AfriPods app on your phone, and that even makes it easier. Well, as I said, in studio today, we're going to be discussing transparency and accountability in Parliament, and the scrutiny, the public scrutiny especially, that has been almost laser focused on Parliament pretty much. Now, the Ugandan Parliament, because of this, the background lies mainly in the famous parliamentary exhibition that included the publication of numerous documents suggesting that there is a cash bonanza in the House, and attempts by a section of MPs to cause debate on this matter with a view to cleaning up the image of Parliament were frustrated by the rulings of the Speaker, Anita Among. And the Speaker also knocked down a motion by Theodore Sechikubo, by the Theodore Sechikubo team, about censuring the Parliamentary Commission as accused of illegally sharing 1.7 billion shillings. Now, the sanctions brought against Speaker Anita Among raised further concerns, and a decision to conduct regional parliamentary sittings has also been termed as a scheme to steal money. And the opposition in Parliament says that a total of 20 billion shillings got to be spent on what they describe as useless sittings. You could say that figure is rounded off, give or take, a couple of billions. Parliament has insisted that whatever is being spent in Parliament at whatever level was properly budgeted for. Now, budget experts now say that in order to address what they call unwarranted spending by Parliament, there's need to scrutinize the Parliamentary Commission budget and to guide them on the priorities. So this evening, we are going to be looking at how we can cure the issues raised by the manner in which Parliament is spending taxpayers' money through its budget. And in studio with us, we have got Mr. Marlon Agaba, who happens to be the Executive Director at the Anti-Corruption Coalition Uganda. Welcome to Radio 1 FM 90 Spectrum.
Yeah, thank you very much, John, for having me. And it's always a pleasure to be here and to talk about issues really that affect our nation. Mm-hmm. And good evening to our listeners and viewers.
We were supposed to have Mr. Chris Obore, the Director of Communications Parliament of Uganda, in studio with us, but I don't know if it's going to make it. We'll see. We'll keep our fingers crossed. Maybe it might drop in just now. However, to get straight to this discussion, Mr. Marlon Agaba, why, in your opinion, is Parliament so cagey about opening up about these things? And would you say they have used a fair rule in regards to how they've treated these concerns? Because some people say it feels like they've just brushed them off as noise by the public. They don't feel like it has. Their concerns have been addressed with the, with the due concerns, I'd say, by the powers that be.
Yeah, thanks very much. Of course, a number of issues have come out regarding corruption at Parliament. You have rightly talked about the exhibition. I think a number of issues came up with regard to the illegal recruitment, nepotism in recruitment, the issues of monies that were being wired in their millions and billions to individual accounts, ostensibly for several activities which were never substantiated. We also saw issues of members of parliament influencing budgets. We have also seen issues of monies that were meant for cooperatives that were diverted, and a few members of parliament are in court now. So a number of issues have come up, and given the role of parliament, one of the cardinal roles of parliament is to provide oversight on other agencies of government. And when you look at the issues that have come out, it puts them in the spotlight on whether they can actually exercise that mandate quite well, given the issues that they are facing as an institution. So the issues have come out, there are quite a number, and they haven't come out so loudly to dispel or to say that this is not true, meaning that by and large what has been put out there is true regarding Parliament. And because these issues affect the leadership or the leadership of Parliament is directly involved, we haven't seen, members of Parliament haven't been given a platform to address these issues. Remember, there have been attempts by several members of Parliament to bring the issue of corruption on the debate on the floor, which was quickly stopped by the speaker. You talked about the censure motion regarding the service award, which, I mean, using different excuses, couldn't be given a platform on the floor. We have had even the leader of opposition on several occasions trying to bring out these issues, but it's not being given a platform. By and large, because the top leadership of Parliament has been involved in these allegations, I think they wouldn't want to give a platform to people to discuss issues that directly affect them, which is, of course, is quite unfortunate and dents the credibility of Parliament as an accountability institution. I mean, you cannot give what you don't have. I don't see Parliament having really the authority to demand for accountability from other agencies of government when Parliament on its own is not accountable at all. And of course, we have seen the different actions that have come out from citizens in terms of discussing these issues. We've seen the young people coming out to demonstrate against corruption. So I think really the events at Parliament and the stifling of speech, to the extent that we have seen people who try to talk about these issues, they're being intimidated. A few have been arrested. Several were arrested trying to demonstrate at Parliament and sent to prison for lengthy times. So all that stifling of speech, of course, points to a level of guilt on behalf of the people who don't want this information to come out. But I think the positives are that we are having a citizenry that is much more vibrant and aware. We are looking at different mediums of accessing information and making this information available to the public, which I hope that it's a good thing that we can build on moving forward.
Yeah, you know, as you're talking about all these concerns, and you mentioned a lot of the things, when you think about it, have the concerns that have been raised, and Parliament's explanation always has been, this is not money we are pulling from without. You know, they're not asking for supplementary budgets. This is money that had been budgeted for. They are not spending from without the budget. You know, they're spending from within. So why are we making a fuss out of it?
Now, John, one thing you need to appreciate is that we have reached a level where corruption in this country actually is well planned. It is budgeted. It is appropriated.
Yes.
And it is disbursed and implemented. So, having all those things, that explanation, having items in the budget and implementing them doesn't take away the whole
the problem.
The problem that explains.
That it's wrong.
Like, for instance, when you look at the issue of the service award, it wasn't actually called service award. It was budgeted as ex gratia, and there are leaders, retired leaders, who truly deserve ex gratia, an allowance for retired leaders. So if you put that as a lump sum, and you hide their service award, and when it comes to actual implementation, you pay the people service award, but you budgeted for ex gratia, and then the reasoning is that it was budgeted. Or if there's no transparency with regard to the budget and with regard with people accessing that information, then that doesn't make it right just by saying that the activity was budgeted for. I mean, we will have, like I've said, that we are having corruption that is being budgeted. When you saw the example of the compensation for the cooperatives, people already knew, and people had their percentages of the money they wanted to receive. So just having an activity, and again, the other problem, of course, is that Parliament has a lot of power when it comes to appropriation. They are the ones that decide these budgets. They're the ones that make changes in terms of allocations and allocate them the resources. So it becomes completely problematic when it comes to holding them accountable. But also, of course, when you look at the manner in which some of this money was being dispersed, like to individual accounts in millions, in hundreds of millions, and in billions, it also brings to question the purpose and the intent of this money. So I think that all in all, we need to look at the process and the intent of what they are saying has been budgeted. And like I've said, people are now very clever. Each and everything will be on budget. But when
it's meant for something
else, really corruption.
Yeah, it's
that is planned.
It's interesting that you say that. But guys, if you want to be a part of Radio 1 FM 90 Spectrum, please engage us on WhatsApp on 0703 090 090. Okay, that's 0703 090 090. All right, and you can also call us on our various phone lines. Those of you who prefer to call in and chip in on the discussions in studio here. We're also going to try and get a hold of Chris Obore, probably on phone. Let's see how it works out. 0414 348 111 and 0774 076 394. Now, since you have, in a way, cued us towards the next question, because you talked about people officially budgeting for corruption. I as you were explaining that, I remembered a cousin of mine who was doing logistics in South Sudan, and he actually had a budget for paying the different traffic officers along the route to Juba.
And it was in the budget?
It was in the budget. It was well known. The money was given separately from the fuel and whatnot to the drivers. So I get that. I get the budgeting. But you see, it's working at that micro level, and it grows up to the state level.
Yeah.
And all these things are always budgeted for, especially if you don't have the luxury of asking for a supplementary budget. But as people present position papers on the national budget and also analyze the budget, have you had a look at the Parliamentary Commission budget by any chance?
Yeah, of course there is information that can be accessed from the Ministry of Finance or other sources with regard to that budget. Although I must admit that at the time of budgeting, not so many people do out of scrutiny of the budget.
People don't like to read
that is issue number one. But also secondly, like I said, the elements where issues are just ramped up together and given,
and the devil is in the details.
And given a name, and the devil is in the details, and you don't have access to those details. So I agree that there is need for a little bit more scrutiny in terms of looking at the Parliament budget, especially the details, if they can be accessed, and analyzing whether really there is value for money.
Okay, and we're going to, as I said, going to try and get a hold of Chris Obore, the director of communications at Parliament of Uganda, to join us and chip in on these discussions as well. It's because it's a burning issue that seems to be evolving week on week, and there's almost a flare up, as you can tell by how traffic is usually diverted week in, week out from Parliament, roads blocked off and whatnot because of a flare up for one reason or another. Parliament has become like I don't know why, but almost like the embodiment of Uganda's problems, and or maybe it has somehow it feels like all guns are aimed at it. Isn't that maybe barking up the wrong tree? Aren't we barking up the wrong tree? Are they just?
No, I think
they where they are. They're just playing the game.
I think there is increased scrutiny on Parliament because members of Parliament represent the people, elected by the people to represent the people, and I think that's why there is increased scrutiny of them. But also before, I've had several scandals that have involved ministries, departments, and agencies. So it is not fair to say that it is just focusing on Parliament. But because I think when you look at the blatant way in which public resources, have been diverted at Parliament, and the stifling of debate on such issues, I think that's why a lot of focus has been put at Parliament, and like I've said, Parliament is now barricaded. Even accessing it is a problem. I mean, members of Parliament are afraid of the people who elected them. It is really quite surprising. But yes, I agree that yes, it has to be focused on Parliament, but that focus should also be on other agencies of government as well, because when you look broadly in terms of budget, Parliament is not taking the largest share, but that doesn't take away the fact that we should have a high level of scrutiny on our members of Parliament, especially to check the impunity that had started growing on members of Parliament. That I mean, you have been seeing what has been playing out. I may not want to repeat what is happening like in court with cases to do with the cooperatives, but I think the level of impunity that was at Parliament had to be checked.
Now, as we fight, this seems to be like a public fight against all this profligacy when it comes to aiming resources and misappropriation and whatnot. Where do you think the challenge really lies in reeling in Parliament to kind of see the pain, so to speak, that the public seem to be basing their cries on? Because it seems like it's falling on deaf ears almost. So yeah, where do you think the challenge is? I
think there are many problems, and Parliament, of course, operates within an ecosystem, which is Uganda, and we're talking about a Uganda that is extremely corrupt, at least according to several studies. The IGG talks about Uganda losing 9 trillion each and every year to corruption. Transparency International has been ranking us so poorly, 26% in terms of fighting corruption. So we are already, as a country, we are corrupt.
Yeah. Corruption is the system of governance.
So the members of Parliament represent that corruption that is within society.
So really, the fault is not exactly their own now, can it be?
Partly it is,
because they're not from the moon; they're from within us.
Because they have obligation. You know, they are part of the 3 arms of government. But the point I'm trying to make is that we're having a failure at leadership, and we're having corruption that has been by and large intertwined with the governance, with the legislature, with all the different arms of government, and that's an issue really that we need to look out and address. Really, if you are going to have to make any headways in terms of fighting corruption, but also Parliament on its own, like we said, because of that ecosystem, I think they had reached a level of impunity where they thought that each and everything could pass without the scrutiny of the public. Okay,
on that note, we get the Director of Communications at Parliament of Uganda, Chris Obore, online with us. Welcome to Radio 1FM 90 Spectrum, Obore.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know if you've been listening in, but we've been talking about the intense public scrutiny that Parliament seems to be coming under, especially dealing with transparency and accountability. And we're just asking, especially straight up from you, because you're right in the thick of it. It feels like Parliament is a bit hesitant to open up to public scrutiny, proper public scrutiny. This is the perception of the public. Do you disagree with this perception?
What is proper public scrutiny?
Well, in terms of being able to lay bare every bit of information, really, in regards, especially to expenditure, there always seems to be the public seems to be playing a poker game, so to speak, with the guys who are, with the parliamentary administration. Always, the goalposts keep changing, and what is actually true is always being, thrown up and down. It's never clear, as in, like Marlon Agaba pointed out here, things like, ex gratia payments, being mixed in with other details. And there's chicanery really going on when it comes to accountability. It's never straightforward. There's always explanations for it, but it's never straightforward. And that's the lack of transparency that people perceive is coming from Parliament. And that's why we're asking, why is it that Parliament is hesitant to open up to accountability and questions and demands, not just from the public, but even from within Parliament? I mean, you know what happened to the Sechikubo team, and and a section of MPs, of course, have asked about cleaning up this matter. Have asked for this debate to be put on the floor of Parliament, but it's always pushed aside like it's an uncomfortable truth that nobody wants to look in the face of. So why?
If you want the truth, it is there that in the fight against corruption, you must have clarity and not fuse in matters all the time like some actors want to do. For instance, you must separate politicking from fighting against corruption. If you mix the two, you get lost in pursuing political goals instead of fighting corruption. And we have spoken over and over, the fight against corruption in public is structured. There is a reason why institutions are in place. Is there any year the Auditor General has said Parliament has refused to give us documents for audit? Is there any time IGG has said we went to investigate Parliament and we were denied information? These are institutions of the public. It is the public that put those institutions in place to be their watchdog. But you find somebody feels that the institutions are useless, he or she is useful. That cannot be a fight against corruption. Somebody's pursuit of their personal interest should not be fused with the fight against corruption. Corruption is structured in the way it is fought. There is a reason countries have investigatory agencies. But you find in Uganda, everyone says that those agencies are useless. At the same time, they say they want institutions. When will they be builders of these institutions? If you think the police is weak, what have you done to support the police? If you think Auditor General is not doing the job, what have you done to support the Auditor General? If you think IGG is not doing enough, what have you done? Than just going to the media and saying, oh, there is not about transparency. The fight against corruption, especially in the Parliament, is driven by people who receive their own funding, justify it that you're fighting corruption. Some of whom have been tested recently have accountability issues in their own organizations. When told to account, they don't want. But they are here shouting, Parliament not open, Parliament not transparent. Parliament is a public institution. It is open to the public. It has its own internal committees. It has its own internal systems. Externally, there are institutions of government checking Parliament. So why do we need to take somebody's statements as the truth? Can you call Auditor General as Radio 1 and ask, when you want to investigate Parliament, you get all the documents? Why do you say Parliament is not open? Because one person has said it? I think we should focus.
I think, Chris, this open situation, actually, almost you could say, almost is embodied by the response of the request to have this debated on the floor of Parliament. That whole refusal.
Can you allow me to tell
yes.
you now that you are fallen into the trap of politics? You are now the man pursuing political interest. You are not pursuing accountability. You are not.
Okay.
Because you have taken what one political interested party is saying as the fight against corruption. I have told you, can you ask Auditor General with the competencies to investigate corruption, that have they ever been denied information? Why would you think politicians are more capable than technical people who have been trained? Do you think the auditors Uganda has are more stupid than the politicians?
Well,
why don't you help Uganda build institutions than stampede institutions with mere politicking statements for headlines? Why?
For starters, it's not mere politicking, and I think it's a bit of intellectually dishonest of you to try and divorce politics and fighting corruption when we are discussing they're two sides of the same coin, and really it's you cannot divorce them, and they're not mutually exclusive, isn't it?
Do you believe in institutional framework of doing things? Do you believe?
Yes, of course. I'm sure everybody believes that.
The courts of law have said the service award was not illegal. Why are you saying it's corruption? Chris, aren't you then by default saying that those institutions are infallible, which is not true, because all institutions are fallible. Parliament, every institution is fallible, isn't it? I asked you, if they are weak, like Radio 1 is weak,
yes.
What have you done to build them?
Well,
do you write them off?
No, of course, the fight continues, but that doesn't mean that then you take their word as gospel truth when it's coming from a point of weakness.
For now, those are institutions set up. The judiciary is to adjudicate. If we do not take court judgments as correct, should we take Radio 1 to be correct?
But that's why they appealed. Court judgments are appealed.
Why don't you allow the appeal process? Why do you make conclusions that there was corruption?
Well, that's no. But you're not allowing the appeal process to happen. This is what they're saying, because the Auditor General said things were okay. They said, okay, let's debate this on the floor of Parliament if things were okay, and we look at it. But that was shut down.
You're saying debate in the House. The courts have said there's no illegality. Do you understand what they mean by separation of powers in public institutions?
Yes.
Then what are you supporting now?
Look,
I've told you when I began a sub meeting. I told you. I've heard Ugandans say institutions are useless when a ruling is against them. I have told you, if you think the police not doing the right job, the best way for you is how do you make police do the job right? If you think the General is not doing a right job, what are you doing to make them do the job right? You can't keep blaming institutions and making individuals look larger than the country. That's what I don't believe in that.
Well,
I believe in institutions. If Radio 1, if the Parliament is fallible, if courts are fallible, if police are fallible, if IGG are fallible, is Radio 1 infallible?
Yes. So no, it's not. It's Radio 1 is not infallible. Radio 1 is fallible.
Very good. What do you do to help? Do you close Radio 1?
No, of course not.
What do you do?
But that is...
What do you do to Radio 1? You build it.
Yes.
What are you doing to build the court, to build the police, to build the Auditor General, to build the Parliament?
No, and I think you're, Chris, let's be honest about this. It seems you're deflecting, because this is not about building at the moment. It's about answering the present, because building is in future tense, future and continuous tense. We're talking about the present, the actual present.
Hold on, and the present is, you seem to be thinking corruption means a service award. Is that what you're thinking?
No. We're not talking about only the service award.
What else are you talking about?
As I said, well played. I love the way you're doing your job, Chris, I have to admit.
What are you talking about? This is what you have found out. You're saying it's wrong.
Yeah.
I am saying never institutionalize individuals. Never.
But how about individuals embodying the institutions? Which is normal.
Individuals, which is wrong. Build institutions, build IGG, build the general.
But that's a process. That's a process, isn't it?
But exactly. So
it's a process.
Why are you behaving like you have arrived when you know?
No, we haven't arrived, and I think that's why we are asking. So, as we are building these things, as we are building these institutions, why don't we solve the problems that we're dealing with now? Because it's like saying, "Look, I am over 200 kilograms. I have high blood pressure. I have diabetes. I have all manner of problems. Now I need to. The best treatment for me would be to lose weight. I have been told by the doctor to lose weight. Losing weight means I have to exercise, eat healthy, and that is a process that will probably take 2 or 3 years. But that does not mean that I do not treat the high blood pressure that I have now with medication, because the high blood pressure might kill me before I get to lose all these 200 kilograms. So what we are saying is, why aren't we swallowing the medication for our problem right now? Why are we waiting to lose weight before we swallow our medication?
I have told you, if you want to get medication, get from qualified doctors. If you go to a witch doctor,
but
we are praising witch doctors while ignoring professional doctors.
But the current what we are asking for, and this is the problem, we have asked for the institution. You have sent us to the shrines to talk to the witch doctors, and they're not doing a good job, at least according to the perception.
I have told you, the doctors in this case are IGG, Auditor General, the police, State House and Corruption institutions. These are the professional institutions we have. But you seem to highlight the witch doctors. And you know what the professionals are saying.
Oh, yes.
The interest of a witch doctor is unknown.
But actually, we have got a comment here from somebody here who says he says you're playing with matters of accountability as a mere primary school debate of mother is better than father. The same parliament can work on the auditor's report when they hand over public officials to the police and they don't want them to be questioned by the public, which is what I was talking about. We can't keep treating the ailments that are hurting us now, the symptoms, but as we work on the basic foundation of what should keep us healthy.
Let me give you information. Even the members of parliament who were arrested by police over alleged corruption were arrested by police on the basis of a report of parliament. Are we together?
Yes, please.
Are you aware of that?
Yes, severally.
So why do you say parliament not fighting corruption?
Well, even a dead clock is correct twice a day, isn't it?
So I've told you, even the MPs and everybody arrested on cooperatives were the police action was based on a report of parliamentary committee. That was instituted by the Mwina Mpaka committee report. Is what is the basis of police action. Why do you want to assume that there is no action taken against corruption? Why do you cherry pick?
Because
you want a motion on the floor. That's your interest.
No, not just that. Not just that, but that would look. And this is what I think we've been talking about, perceptions, because all Parliament's problem now is image and the perception that it's you could say the kingdom of corruption. That's the perception that is being given, and it has kind of snowballed. However,
the lawyers say image depending on the right thinking members of society. They are not going to be lured by witch doctors. If it is a doctor prescribing, we shall listen.
Yes.
Not a witch doctor.
Well, Pat asks a very interesting question here. He's asking you that are you trying to make us believe that syndicated corruption does not exist? Or are you implying that state capture, where public institutions start serving individuals other than the public good or interest? You know, he says, and he's saying, who's
Can I answer him?
Yes, please.
Nobody in their right sense can say there's no corruption in Uganda. Even the head of state says we need to fight corruption. The difference we have, we want to fight corruption with the proper diagnosis, proper prescription. We need to follow the trained people who help us diagnose and prescribe treatment. Some of you want us to run to witch doctors who we don't know where they trained from.
Chris, if a thief enters your house, are you going to wait to get the panga that you had kept in the store when they're ready in your bedroom, or will you even get the insecticide and spray it in their face and start from there? It's not really about the tools at that moment, is it?
Now that is very basic if you ask.
Yes. You won't look for the panga. You'll get what is at hand right there and then. If it's the public demand, so be it. Deal with the thief there and then. You can bring the panga to the bedroom next time.
For us, we say we do analysis of threat. You cannot say a thief enters my house, use whatever you have. If a thief is armed and there are 5 thieves, what will you do with your mosquito repellent? So don't bring that analogy. That doesn't work here. Analysis of threat differs, and the response to threat also differs. That's why I told you, rely on trained medical doctors, not witch doctors.
But anyways, Chris, you're playing defense quite. I have to admire.
My friend Malon,
how resolute you are.
Okay.
Yeah, he's listening to you.
Some of them, Malon there is a gentleman. He knows fighting corruption. Some of them recently were asked, okay, you are fighting against corruption. There is this in your homes. La. Leave us alone. Leave us alone. Leave us alone. Diversion. If you believe in accountability, start from where you are. Start from your home. But you want accountability in neighbor's home, not yours. But that's another matter. For me, I'm saying the fight against corruption cannot be through impulse. It cannot be through a mere feeling of someone. It is something that must be thought about, and we must strengthen the investigatory, regulatory, and disciplinary agencies of government to do it, not relying on people's utterances. Nobody can be stronger than a system approach. Nobody. And in Uganda, some few people want us to believe they can fight corruption as individuals. They are liars. They are witch doctors.
Okay. I'm just going to get to some of the other comments that have come through, because I would like to address some of them to Marlon here in the studio as well. Okay. This question is kind of very open-ended. It's not going to help. But Rani says, he says, Chris, you're being diversionary. People are asking questions about accountability, looting, and impunity exhibited by the Speaker and the Parliamentary Commission. Says you should stop diverting the discussion.
Look at that reckless kind of statement. He became the prosecutor, the investigator, and a judge. Those are the witch doctors, I tell you. They just slander people and move on. Thanks to Museveni for bringing freedom. That you slander and go and sleep.
And wait, actually, I've got a message here, and it's a reference directly to you. He's asking that at what point during a talk show, Honorable Wafula Ogutu mentioned that he assisted you in getting to Parliament. So, he's saying, how can you be talking like this? That you're showing two sides of yourself. You're not being honest to your past self. And as I said, it was directed towards you directly. So, but Wilson says that Chris needs to be reminded that Parliament is the only temple of oversight and accountability. Today, it has turned out that it has joined a bandwagon of corruption, and therefore, you can't fight what you're already part of. Fighting corruption and enforcing accountability and transparency is the reason we ask MPs to seek a fresh mandate, but this has been eroded by institutionalizing corruption through Parliament.
I've just given you. Even the members who were arrested based on Honorable Mwine Mpaka's report. So what do you mean by institutionalizing? All of you were sleeping until Honorable Mwine Mpaka banned midnight candles, investigating and digging facts and producing a report. Now you go and say they have institutionalized.
But
what are you talking about?
I think, Chris, again, this is where your intellectual dishonesty comes to play. You know that there are very many reports that come to the floor of Parliament, and the investigations and whatnot, and they just die.
Not every time you go to hospital, you must be given injection. You can go shivering and they tell you this one takes Panadol and go back. Does it mean they have not got treatment?
So this is where the 9 trillion shillings that the IGG mentioned disappears in those treatments that are not given, because we lose 9 trillion shillings according to the IGG, the institution that you're praising.
What I meant here, not every allegation is a fact. That's what I'm telling you. Not everything you allege is a fact. It is why we have statutory agencies to do investigation, to do discipline, to do regulation. You don't just allege and move. We're not running a kiosk.
Well,
we're running public affairs.
Okay, thank you so much, Chris. I'm going to give Marlon here a chance now to talk about some of these comments, especially, and some of your positions. Now, you've had Chris's quite resolute defense of the House and the perceptions of Parliament and what is what people are basically saying is happening at Parliament, and he's saying, look here, guys, you cannot. We have to leave this to the institutions. But in a country where obviously state capture and institutional capture is a thing, so where does that leave the people? Article 1 of the Constitution is thrown out of the window because they thought power belongs to the people. They're the ultimate court of appeal.
One, I just want to comment on two points that Chris made on building institutions. I personally believe in building institutions, and for us, the work we can do, actually, we do advocacy and we give suggestions to these institutions on how they can improve. As to the actual doing that, we already pay taxes and they have resources to do that, to do the work we are supposed to do. So much as I believe in building institutions and working through these institutions, that doesn't take away the fact that as citizens we have a right to question them where they are not working. And when you look at Parliament, there have been several allegations that have come out. It's not just one case. The President has come out to say that there is corruption in Parliament committees. He said it when he was at Parliament. We saw the exhibition and the transfers of resources to individuals working at Parliament, then the cooperatives and then the case to do with the budget that is ongoing in court. I will not comment so much about it. So there have been several allegations where Parliament at least should have come out to provide an explanation, an official explanation, or even allow debate on the floor of Parliament. I mean, members of Parliament raise a lot of issues that are even not so much relevant. Why not allow discussion on an issue as important as the issue of, that touches on the credibility of Parliament? Talking about institutions, they talked about the Auditor General, the Inspector of Government. Yes, we have these institutions. But for instance, during the exhibition, I saw members of the public writing to the Auditor General, the Inspectorate of Government, to investigate allegations of corruption at Parliament.
And actually, the IGG came out herself and said, guys, you have to do this yourselves. Yeah. You remember? She said, for me, when I get sick, I'll go abroad for treatment. You guys have to fight corruption yourselves. And we're doing that now as the public. And they're saying, no, go back to the institutions.
And now they are playing ping pong. Yes. IGG says Auditor General is investigating. Auditor General is saying IGG investigating. Why? Because when you look at the balance of power, in a way it is in favor of Parliament, because the Auditor General by extension is an office of Parliament, and they report to Parliament. And their funds are appropriated by Parliament.
Yes. And who pays the piper?
More so the IG. They also report to Parliament. Funds are appropriated by Parliament. So by extension, Parliament has some level of exercise and control over these institutions, which affects the balance of power. In a normal system, these institutions should be able to check. When you look at an institution like the Financial Intelligence Authority, day in, day out, they are monitoring accounts of NGOs and activists. But there were serious allegations of money leaving Parliament accounts to individuals.
And they didn't pay heed.
And the names were there, the amounts were there, the dates were there. At least would have expected a statement from these institutions. So I don't think really that the institutions we have really, it's an issue of building them or lacking capacity. There's another broader problem that perhaps we need to look at of corruption that is really part of the governance system in this country.
Yeah, as I said, it's the actual governance system rather than democracy. Yes.
The truth is, when I hear Malone talking now, I see how we regard it.
Hello? Hello, Chris. I think we lost you there. Hello? Hello, are you there? I think the phone's dropped or something. It's like... hello? We kind of lost him.
Is that it seems for you, the only institution that is serve Uganda is anti-corruption coalition in Uganda. And if we talk about this only corruption, you begin being defensive. That we still donor funds, not public funds. We still donor funds. That's the problem with the civil society here. You take political sides and you begin regurgitating the agenda of politicians. That's the biggest I'm telling you. Build IGG, build Auditor General, build the Financial Agency Authority. And who tells you, Agaba, that if you're a lawyer, that any allegation on the people, you must kill them? Is that how you're going to run the country? That there was allegation like this, Agaba is a rapist, go and shoot him. It is why government has courts. If you think Agaba is a rapist, go and prove your case in the court. When the court judge otherwise, Agaba says, oh, courts are compromised. Who compromised courts? Who compromised IGG? Who compromised FIA? Who compromised police? And only ACU is not compromised. Can we believe that? Let's run public affairs genuinely. Oh, the matter, you are crusading for a particular political group, and you think that you are too sharp to undermine FIA. My friend, those guys read the books like you did. They can't be stupid and only use clever. No, that's what I'm against that, Chris Obore. Let's give, if you say you pay taxes, you know the budget of IGG? How much would they want to do work? What about the police? What about the Auditor General? What about other arms? Every time you keep saying the parliament is supposed to give resources. The parliament budget of parliament is 800 billion. IGG says they will lose over 9 billion in corruption every year. You mean the 9 billion come from parliament? But you are interested in the parliament because that's why you get the mileage accountability of those who pay you. And then you deal with the public and say parliament this, parliament that, parliament this. Money is being returned from districts. Let's understand the structural challenges of our institutions and then see what do we do. Is it the people? Is it the capacity? What is it? But you can't make allegations on the radio because they have been given airtime. We keep talking about the same thing. There's a time here, if we are in this country, they use an about some it's not there as corruption is stopped. Some of you go personal and fail to look at the bigger picture on how to fight corruption.
Okay.
You attack individuals without basic knowledge about what's happening to those individuals.
Okay, Chris, from your elevated position, what, in fact, you've helped us lead us to the final question. What, in your opinion, is the thing, and please don't tell me building institutions. What is that thing stopping us from building strong institutions? What is that one thing that, from your elevated position, is stopping us from building strong institutions to fight corruption?
One of it, you keep talking about the public. What is the value system that defines our institution? What is the value system? You cannot build institutions because you have gone to school. Institutions is the acceptable way society has agreed to be governed. But in a country where we say, if I'm a district service chairman for Bukedea, all of people on Bukedea have to get jobs only. So who are you going to blame Museveni for that decision? Are you going to blame the president for it? they have sent money to a district to do roads, and some people will decide to do otherwise. And they are witnesses. The community knows. The community knows, and the community applauds it. So how do you begin blaming, oh, this is government, state capture? That word has been abused, state capture. Every lazy thinker now talks about state capture. Who are you regurgitating? We have all gone to school to understand state capture. How can a state be captured? And yet, Honorable Mune Impaka was able to make a report and cause prosecution. State capture, state capture. Look at the challenges. Look at the opportunities to fight corruption. And how you can utilize the opportunities. But not making blanket statements all year round. And then attacking individuals, go personal all the time. What is the issue? It's like I will tell you, institutional arrangement is far beyond what we keep imagining. There is a knowledge gap. Has ACU ever gone to any district to educate people on corruption? Even the ACU is hobbying around the capital, let's say, monitor, where, that's the end of them. Why don't you build the capacity from the population that you represent? How much of your budget in the ACU goes to helping IGG educate the masses on corruption? You have the ACU.
Oh, okay.
And you go to IGG and say, okay, you have a budget here, IGG, there is corruption in the Bundibujo, we can support you with this money for awareness campaign for this period of time. Then you assess how far awareness has yielded the results. We are all going around speaking English all the time and people are fighting corruption.
All right, thank you so much, Chris Obore, for taking the time to share these concerns with us and addressing some of these questions. It's been very interesting.
Thank you.
Okay. Chris Obore, the Director of Communications Parliament, and Marlon Agaba, your closing word about this. You've heard what Chris Obore responded.
Thanks very much. I will not go so much into what Chris Obore is saying.
Yes.
Because the Chris Obore now is the complete opposite of Chris Obore, who was investigations editor at Daily Monitor. Yeah. I think the two really, if they met each other, they would have a serious fight. Anyway, much of what he's saying in terms of we engage the IG, we provide suggestions, we do research and give them findings. So yes, we are working with these institutions and we do give what we can really offer. But again, the need for capacity enhancement really shouldn't be an excuse for not doing the work that they should be doing within their current means. Thank you.
Okay, on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we'll close Radio 1 Spectrum. Thank you very much for engaging with us and sharing your thoughts about this. We're discussing how to ensure transparency and accountability in Parliament after this intense public scrutiny. And online with us, we had Chris Obore, the Director of Communications at Parliament of Uganda, and Mr. Marlon Agaba, the Executive Director at Anti-Corruption Coalition Uganda. Well, I've been John Torach, sitting in for Kenneth Lukwago on Spectrum. Coming up next is BB Jr. with the Soul Train. But first, Leland Keno's here with the news bulletin.
We know these times have been challenging, but also believe that business shouldn't stop, whether trading inland or across borders. Tambuza Business with our trade finance services that are designed to make it easy for you. Talk to us today for bank guarantees, import and export financing, certificate and invoice discounting, import loans, commodity financing, contract, LPO financing, and more. Contact our trade finance team on 0704-252-833 or WhatsApp on 0790-542-262. Housing Finance Bank. We make it easy. Housing Finance Bank is regulated by the Bank of Uganda. Customer deposits are protected by the Deposit Protection Fund of Uganda.
Broadcasting from the heart of Kampala, the news on Radio 1.
Brought to you by KCB Bank Uganda. With our trade finance solutions, growth is just a call away. KCB Bank Uganda. For people, for better.